right, good. So we are in, this is we 6 weeks in Daniel, and we're going to wrap this up next week, we promise. But we've been walking through Daniel, and here's what I've heard from some of you, that this has really been a good thing for us to do, and it's been energizing for us, and we've really been able to pull out some really unique things out of Daniel and be challenged from this particular book, this Old Testament book, not a place we normally go, and we thought, let's dive in, and so that's exactly what we've done. So we've been walking through some really phenomenal biblical stories, some of which you have heard if you have been in the church, especially like when I was a kid, I heard about Daniel. I mean, Daniel was one of the places that we heard Bible stories from, especially the Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace, and we heard about Daniel in the lion's den, and those were great stories of rescue and victory and all that kind of stuff. And as kids, we could get our heads around that, and so they put that into flannel boards. Remember those flannel boards? Oh man, you move the little characters around on a flannel board. Oh my heavens! Wow. So there were, we've addressed those things over the last couple of weeks. We've addressed dreams, we've addressed statues and idols and idol worship and godless people and kings coming to understand who God is through watching somebody else in their life, watching somebody else go through something and saying, okay, obviously your God is amazing. And that was happening through this. And we've watched Daniel in particular go through 3 different kings, and to be in a place where he is now an older guy. I'm not going to say he's an old man, because then I'd have to say anyway. So Daniel's in this place in his life where there is a shift that is going to happen for Daniel. He is going to move into a different place in his life. And I don't know about you, but there have been moments when I've recognized over my lifetime that I have been moved into different places in my life, right? Whether I liked it or not, there I am. I'm in a different place in my life. So, for example, when we started having kids, I realized I was in a different place in my life, right? I was no longer a guy without kids. I was now a dad, right? And then when my kids became teenagers, I became a dad with teenagers. There you go, right? Let's put that out there, because that's an insane period of time. When you're just trying to, so there's a part of you that's just trying to get them to a place where they can survive, and then there's a part of you that's just enjoying those years, right? Because they're not going to last. Because then you move into that next phase in life, which at our house it became empty nest, and they started moving out and moving away and going on their own, right? And how wonderful to be in that place in life. And in the same time, there were places and stages in life that were changing and shifting in my career world, in my pastor world, in my pastor life, right? And some of you have been around here for a while, but some of those shifts were moving from the guy who used to be the youth pastor with a ponytail and an earring, right, to being the guy who became the senior pastor. And not because I wanted to, but because it was a situation in our lives together where God thrust us into a moment, and we had to recover, and we had to figure that one out. And so God knew what he was doing, and I trusted that, and we've trusted through the process, and you've trusted God through the process, whether it was a career move or a career shift or a life change or all of those kinds of things, and Daniel's been in there. And so we're going to take a look at this shift that Daniel experiences today as we look at chapter 7 and chapter 8. We finished the lion's den, we finished the handwriting on the wall, we finished a bunch of other things, and Daniel now is going to get shifted into being a different kind of guy. And maybe that's you, maybe that's where you're at today. Maybe you're just in a different phase in life right now. And quite honestly, some of those phases in life are really hard to adjust to, aren't they? I listened to a webinar the other day of Rick Warren. I don't know if you're familiar with the name, but he's the guy who wrote the book Purpose-Driven Church, Purpose-Driven Life, and he recently retired from being the senior pastor at Saddleback Church. And he talked about what it was like to retire and how hard that was after being on every Sunday. And how he felt like on a Sunday morning after retirement, on a Sunday morning, he didn't know what to do with himself. And I thought, oh dear, that's coming. right? I mean, someday, right? So we're all in those phases, and sometimes the phases are okay. Sometimes the phases, we're like ready for it. Like I know exactly what I'm doing when this next, when the kids all move out. Oh boy, did that one bedroom become my office, right? And one of my kids like, I guess I'm not coming back home, am I? Nope, your room's my office now. Sorry, right? And then there are just those other times when we get pulled into this change. And here's what's going on with Daniel. I'm in chapter 7 of Daniel, reading verses 15 through 18. I just want to, just this short bit, because if we get into this too deep, it becomes a Wednesday night, Sunday night Bible study, and we're going to talk about beasts and horns and crowns and crazy stuff. So, here's the nugget, right? All right, I love when the Bible just drops a nugget, usually within a verse or two, right? Drops a nugget on us and says, I just want you to, all that stuff, all that, here's the nugget. And so I want to read for you verses 15 through 18. It says, I, Daniel, was troubled by all I had seen, and my visions terrified me. So I approached one of those standing beside the throne and asked him what it all meant. And he explained it to me like this. These 4 huge beasts represent 4 kingdoms that will arise from the earth. But in the end, holy people of the Most High will be given the kingdom, and they will rule forever and ever. I'm going to read that last verse for you, that last second. But in the end, the holy people of the Most High will be given the kingdom, and they will rule forever and ever. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Daniel's always had this spiritual ability to interpret dreams, right? That's what got him somewhat famous, right? They pulled him out of this place and said, there's this guy over here who can interpret dreams. And the next thing he knows, he's in front of the king interpreting a dream. And he's always been this guy who can look at dreams and say, well, this is what your dream means. Because dreams are crazy. Dreams, let's just be honest. Dreams are a little weird, right? Dreams can be really strange. You can wake up in the morning like, wow, what was my brain doing while I was sleeping, right? My subconscious does something really weird, takes me down this path and then over here, and then connects it with that over here, and then pulls in this over here, and the next thing I know, I have no idea what that dream was about, right? Like, just please wake me up, because that was weird. Like, what was my brain doing, putting all of those things? And then I realized, oh, yeah, that's right. Yesterday I had a conversation about this, and then I watched a movie about that, and then I had this thing happen like this, and my brain, for some reason, put all 3 of those together. And then, of course, we have the dream where you're at school in your underwear. And you're like, how did I get here, and can I get back home and get some real clothes on? Or, better yet, you're at school without your homework. Right? And, it's the big day. Or you're in some kind of public situation and you're uncomfortable. Dreams do crazy things, right? Here's the thing. Dreams, this is your first teaching note. Dreams are wild pictures of things that could happen. Or things that have happened, or things that might happen, or things that are crazy. And there's a bit of far-fetchedness to dreams, there's fantasy to dreams, there's whimsy to dreams. Dreams can include what we'd like to see happen, what we would hope to see happen, what might happen. And oftentimes when God injects into a dream, and biblically when we read about dreams in the Bible, dreams are often given to individuals to give them a sense of this is what's coming in your life immediately. This is what's happening. This is where you're at, and this is what's coming next. For example, Mary and Joseph, the earthly parents of Jesus, right? Mary and Joseph. Joseph's like, I don't think I want to go through this. I don't think I want to do this. I'm out of here. I'm bagging it. I'm dropping her off at her father's front doorstep, and I'm running in the opposite direction. That's my interpretation of Joseph saying, and he decided to put her away quietly. Right? Like, I am dropping her off at her dad's house. I am not going to go through this. And so he makes this decision. He falls asleep. And what happens? He gets a dream from an angel who says, Joseph, don't be afraid to do this. I've got this. I'm with you. This is the plan. You're on plan. Go for it, Joseph. And dreams can do that, right? That's the unique thing, the unique aspect of when God comes invading into your dreams. So here's what I want you to hear today. Dreams are big. Dreams are important. Dreams can be significant. There can be aspects to our dreams, and I don't mean just the ones you have when you're asleep. because I think we all have some dreams while we're awake. Like, oh, I dream of the day, right? Anybody have those? I dream of the day when, right? Or I dream of the day that something is going to take place. So Daniel has this unique ability to come into the middle of crazy dreams and interpret what they mean, especially for the king. But now something's different. Daniel is at a new place in his life, and God decides that he's going to give Daniel a picture of what is coming. Daniel's going to get to see the bigger picture. He's not just going to be able to interpret what other people see and what the dreams mean, but he's going to get a vision. Visions are different than dreams. That's why we use two different terms, dreams and visions. You'll hear those terms put together oftentimes in Scripture, that your old men will dream dreams and your young men will have visions. Things like that. We'll have places in the Bible where it talks about dreams and visions because they're very different things. And visions are mental or spiritual pictures of what is possible. It's your next teaching note. Visions are mental pictures of what is possible, what could happen, a spiritual picture of what is to come if we give all we have, if we surrender to the one who's calling us, if we give everything to the one who gives us the vision. And Daniel is now shifting from being the guy who can interpret dreams to the guy who's receiving visions from God. That's a shift. That's a major change in Daniel's life. And here's what we discover. Daniel's not ready for that shift to happen. He's not ready for that change in his life. Daniel has this unique understanding of life, and he's been in this unique perspective. And the combination of some very important things that have happened in his life and some very significant gifts have put Daniel in a really great place where he's been through some things. He's experienced them. Think about it. He went through a dramatic time of fasting. And as a matter of fact, people look at the Bible and look at Daniel, and they created the Daniel fast, which is almost impossible to do, by the way. It's almost impossible. I can't imagine doing a Daniel fast. I looked at it once, thought about it, and then said, no way. Grains and veggies. That was it. I don't know about you. There's more. I need more. And so, Daniel fasted. But Daniel did it because he didn't want to take the food of the king. He wanted to honor his God. He's been through that. He's been through almost losing his life because he wasn't willing to cave in. He watched 3 of his friends get thrown into a fiery furnace. He managed to find himself in the middle of a lion's den with the door closed. Not good, not a good place to be. He watched the handwriting on the wall and was able to interpret it. Daniel has been through some pretty amazing things, but when God gives him this picture of what is to come, Daniel loses it. Daniel has seen the power and seen the amazing aspects of who God is. But when God decides to let Daniel see a glimpse of what is to come, it says that Daniel is terrified. That he's terrified. Daniel's watched God do some pretty amazing things, but this terrifies him. I mean, the guy who's been around the block with God a couple times, right? And then all of a sudden, this terrifies him. This is a picture that Daniel isn't sure he can handle. I mean, he's now getting the big picture of what God, up until this point, he's seen glimpses of God's power and God's supernatural ability, right? But now he's seeing something much larger and something much more grand that God is working out and that God is doing. And he's not ready for this kind of news. He's not ready for this kind of change in his life. It's like he's moved from that moment in his life where everything was good and everything was manageable and he was able to handle all things, and then he went to a place in his life where things were no longer under his control. Maybe you've been in that place. Maybe you've been in that place where you got something that happened in your life and you were no longer in control. Even if it was for a moment. Something was happening and you couldn't control it. Something was happening and you no longer had the power to change it and reverse it. You had to surrender. Daniel's in that place. because he's now seen what's coming. It's kind of like that thing of, when you were a kid and you walked into the room and you saw something you shouldn't have seen. Maybe the room was the bathroom, and maybe it was one of your parents, and you saw something you shouldn't, or you just innocently walked into the room and now you can't unsee that, right? There's Daniel. Daniel's in that place where he cannot unsee what's going on. So he's seeing the world that we live in, and he's seeing what's going to happen to it. He's seeing that it's going to convulse, and it's going to struggle, and there's going to be power struggles, and there's going to be some evil happening. And God uses the traditional language of apocalyptic literature to talk about the kingdoms and the end of all things like huge beasts and things that with horns and flames and chaos and insane stuff. And he shows all of these images to Daniel. These visions that Daniel's getting are God's way of saying, these are the things that the world is going to experience. And you're not going to understand them, but I want to give you a glimpse of what I see. And you're going to find yourself in moments when none of this ever makes sense, none of it seems crazy, none of it seems normal. It's not going to make sense. Because here's what you know and here's what I know about life. There are things, next teaching note, there are things in your life, events that will take place, that will trouble us and scare us. You don't have to live for very long to know that there are things that can happen in life that will trouble us and scare us. I mean, maybe you've got some of those happening in your life. Maybe they're happening right now. Things that trouble you and scare you. Some years ago, I realized that there was something wrong. I was laying in bed, and I realized that my heart was doing something a little weird. Right. I said to Julie, this seems a little weird, and fortunately, my wife is a nurse who has cardiac thoracic background. Fortunately, and maybe unfortunately, because she knows a lot, but that can be scary, right? And she said, yeah, I think there is something going on there. And so, went to a physician, did all the tests, did the treadmill, did all the things, and we just discovered that I was on way too much antihistamine allergy medicine and coffee and Mountain Dew all at the same time. And that my heart decided that with all of that, I have extra beats to give you. And so in between my regular beats, there would be an extra beat. I forget what that's called. It doesn't matter what it's called, right? I was getting an extra beat. And so guess what I was told to do? Stop all that stuff, right? Haven't had problems ever since. But let me tell you, I was troubled and a little scared. It's a little scary when they said, well, we're going to send you over for the treadmill thing, We're going to check you out because we think there might be something going on. It's a little scary when they say that, right? Hey, this is going on in your life, and we want to make sure everything's okay because we're not sure everything's okay. What do you mean you're not sure everything's okay? What do you mean by that? Okay, then you think, lots of people have heard this story. Lots of people have been through this. Lots of people have survived this. I'm going to be okay. No, I'm not. And you're right. Yeah, we go through things, right? Or we go through it with somebody we love who's walking through a difficult season in their life. A child who gets the letter from the college that they wanted to go to, and it says no. And they're crushed. Or the young person, the young adult who him and their significant other are trying to have a child, and it's just not happening. And your heart is aching for them, right? And we're watching people, and it's troubling, and it's scary. And God says to us, well, there are going to be times when it's going to be like this. It's going to get scary. It's going to get troubling sometimes. And you will have those times. And in the world that you live in, you're going to wonder some days if you can survive it. You're going to wonder some days if God is actually out there, if God is actually real. And if you're real, could you stop this? And God is telling Daniel, be ready for what's to come. And God is telling us, be ready, things are going to happen. Be ready. Don't wake up absent-mindedly each day thinking, well, it's just another day, it's just another day, it's just another day. There is no such thing, by the way, as just another day. I've learned that, right? Somebody asked me the other day, what do you like about being pastor? I said, I like the fact that no day is ever the same. Ever. I'm not a widget maker. I don't go into the shop, I don't sit down, and I don't put the same thing together every day. I don't do widgets, right? And it's just, every day can bring something different. Every day can bring the news of a young couple whose child got born today. I can be on my way to Hershey Med Center because Lifeline is on its way with a member of our congregation. Any day can be completely different. I can get a call and some young person says, hey, would you do our wedding next year? I just got one of those the other day. Those are fun, right? Every day can be a little bit different. I come home and Julie's like, how's your day? Oh, let me tell you, right? Every day can be a little bit. I don't think there's any such thing. And God is telling Daniel, look, every day, open your eyes, and I want you to see what I see. Daniel gets a glimpse of God's view of things. And it's a little scary, right? And as a matter of fact, today, as we listen to this, it can just be a little tension building, right? To think every day, can we just have normal? Can we just have a normal day? Can I just have a normal day, right? And here's the reality for most of us. No such thing, is there? Well, I mean, what's a normal day? Normal day for me is the sun comes up and it goes down at the end. That's normal, right? There are some normal things. The normal thing in the course of a day is that a minute is still a minute, an hour is still an hour. That's normal. But everything under the sun is possible, right? Everything could change in a moment's notice. I'm not sure. And God is saying, so look, in a world that is this chaotic, in a world where kings and kingdoms are trying to fight against each other, and it feels like one beast is attacking the other, right? I mean, here's the reality. There are some beasts in the world. Whether these are metaphorical or very real beasts, there are beasts challenging our world, fighting for control. And like Daniel, it could freak us out a bit. So much so that Daniel interrupts the vision. I love this. He stops the vision. It's like he walks onto the movie set and says, cut! What are we doing here? And so he walks up to the angel. It says, so I approached one of those standing beside the throne and asked him what all this meant. Can you imagine? He's in the throne room of God, and he's like, now, stop for a moment. What does this mean? And the angel, this is my picture in my mind when I'm reading this. The angel just kind of puts his arm around him, walks him off stage, and says, well, this is what it means. It's all going to be okay. We're giving you a glimpse of things to come. Daniel's having a moment. This angelic being, we don't know whether it's Michael or Gabriel, two of the archangels who are mentioned throughout the book of Daniel. But Daniel is getting lost and confused in the story. It's not making sense, and it seems chaotic, and it seems out of control, and he's this mere mortal who's drinking from a spiritual fire hydrant. And he's calling time out. And I think we've all done this. I think we've all done this at some point in our lives. We looked at God and said, can I have a spiritual time out here? This is more than I can handle right now. I can't do this anymore. I can't be in this situation anymore. This is too hard. This is too deep. This is too much struggle. This is too much heartache. This is too much, God. I can't do this. Daniel does what we all want to do. We all want to walk up to the throne and say, can you just tell me what this is all about? Can you tell me why I'm going through all of this? Can you tell me what's going on in my life? Can you tell me why these struggles are happening? And I get it that there are earthly things happening that I'm out of control of, that there are kings who are trying to take over other kingdoms, and there are rulers who are fighting against each other and bitterly empowering their situation and trying to rule the day, and there are words being said and things. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? Nothing has changed under the sun. But we, like Daniel, we get some vision here, right? We get to see the bigger picture. And there are moments for us in the middle of that where we feel like have you ever been at the beach and you walk in and the first wave just knocks you down? You ever been in? Maybe that's not you, but I've been there. You know, you walk out and that one wave that just catches you off guard, it like breaks right at the right moment, takes your legs right out from underneath of you. And then you know what happens next? The next wave comes. And you're still trying to get yourself stable. You're still trying to get yourself maybe up off of the sand and the shore and the beach, and maybe you've been tumbled a bit, and the next wave hits you, and then the next wave hits you, and the next wave, and you're trying to get yourself back to something normal. And I don't know about you, but there have been moments in my life when I felt like that. It just felt like the world just keeps hitting me, right? And Daniel gets a picture that that's normal. He gets a vision and says, this is the normal thing. Kingdoms will fight against kingdoms. And there will be people who will try to knock you down. There will be people, at some point you're going to try to get to your knees and you're going to get knocked down again. And I promise you, it's going to happen. And since we're all kind of like Daniel this morning, seeing this and hearing this and realizing this, I think we have some major questions, just like Daniel does, about the beastly things that we see happening. And we'd just like to get some answers. We'd all like to know, this is your next teaching note, we'd all like to know just what in the world is going on. God, what's going on? What's going on? I mean, we can look at our world today and we can see the things that are happening that trouble us, the things that are difficult. But look at what the angel does with Daniel. I love this. Here's what I discovered as I was diving deep into this and I was praying over this. The angel's not upset by the question, and the angel's not rattled by the question. The angel's not troubled by the question. As a matter of fact, the angel's not troubled at all. The angel just takes Daniel and says, look, this is the way it is. He explained it to me like this. These 4 huge beasts, he says. They're big. They're bigger than you. They're bigger than the world that you live in. They're bigger than what you've ever seen before or ever experienced. This is something so big it's out of your control. But Daniel, they represent the 4 kingdoms that will arise. There are going to be powers and power plays happening in the world that you live in. But in the end, you see, the angel has something that Daniel doesn't have. And the angel has the end of the story. I want you to hear the end of the story this morning, because this angel not only shared it with Daniel, we get to hear the end of the story. Are you ready? The end of the story says this: the holy people of the Most High will be given the kingdom, and they will rule forever and ever. These 4 beasts, they're going to wreak havoc in your communities and in your nation and in your workplace and in your home, and they will make it hard to think straight and hard to determine what to do next, and they will challenge us one time after another, and they will go so far as to not only challenge your world, they will challenge your belief. They will challenge what you believe in. Daniel's not sure of anything anymore, and he wants to go up to the angel. My picture is Daniel grabs the angel by his robe and says, "What's going on here?" Right? And that can rattle us and challenge us at the core of who we are. These things that happen in our lives, these unsettled visions and these unsettled events that we get a chance to be a part of. We get a chance to be a part of a world that is in conflict. I know that sounds crazy. We get a chance to be a part of a world that's in conflict. Yes, we do. We get a chance to be here. But it can be unsettling and unstable and unrooted in our faith. And it can shake our faith like a rag doll. It can put our faith in a blender to see if it will survive. When we thought getting out of those crashes on the waves on the beach were tough, the soul-wrenching crashes that happen in our lives are really, really much more difficult. And the angel says to Daniel, the holy people of the Most High will be given the kingdom, and they will rule forever and ever. Don't worry about those kingdoms. I'm giving you a glimpse of what's going to happen, but don't worry. Don't worry. Daniel's completely undone, and the angel says, don't worry. They will wreak destruction, and they will wreak havoc, but don't worry. Things are going to happen, and it's going to look bad. Don't worry. You see the one sitting on the throne? He's still on the throne. You see the Holy One who is in charge and in control of all things? He has a kingdom that will never end. And you will be a part of it. Don't worry. It's going to be okay. It's going to get ugly at times. It's going to look bad some days. But it's going to be okay. The angel proclaims something that we all need to hear. That the holy people of the Most High will be given the kingdom. There is nothing that will ever get in the way of those who place their faith in Jesus from seeing victory. And that's God's promise. No matter what the world goes through, no matter what the challenges are in front of us, no matter how difficult life gets, no matter how far apart our families feel or how devastating our finances might get, or no matter how hard the world is that's challenging us, or how dangerous the world is that we live in, we who believe in God have already won. We are those who are claiming the victory today. And we will not lose this battle. We will not lose this fight. We will not lose against the things of the enemy. We will not lose. We have the victory in Jesus Christ. We have already won, and we can no longer be found weak or empty in our faith because of what we have seen and what we've experienced. We can no longer suppose that we're going to be fine right where we're at. We need to be the ones who are ready to dive into our relationship with Jesus so deeply, so profoundly, that we're ready for whatever the world has to throw at us. We can no longer be comfortable in the place where we sit because God has challenged us to see bigger things and to fight for Him and to be the one who lives fully and completely in this world, no matter what the troubles are. We need to get spiritually fit because there are things happening in the world that will challenge our spiritual lives. I strive to be physically fit. But the Bible tells me that physical fitness is okay for a season, but spiritual fitness will see me through to the very end. So are we spiritually fit? God wants strong, committed, seasoned believers who are ready to stand strong in the storm, no matter what those kingdoms bring, no matter how ugly those beasts might look. Are we spiritually strong enough to stand in the storm? Is that you? Are there beasts all around you and you feel like they've got you and they've wrung you out and they've worn you out and they've tired you out and you have nothing left and you're all out? Or are you all in with Jesus? Do you have the understanding it takes? Do you have the biblical knowledge it takes? Do you have the spiritual relationship it's going to take to weather the season that's right in front of you? Or the seasons yet to come? Because God will walk you through them. But what I've discovered in life and what you've probably already learned is that God will not remove you from them. He will walk beside us through them. And he wants you to be ready, and he wants you to be strong. And so I want to challenge you today to be spiritually strong in Jesus, to be spiritually strong in the things of the Lord, to be spiritually confident, to be spiritually victorious in what God has already done in your life and what God is about to do in the things yet to come. Because God's not done yet. He's not done with you, and he's not done with me, and he's certainly not done with the world that he's created. God is not done yet, and God has a victory for us. And it looks like this. The holy people of the Most High will be given the kingdom, and they will rule forever and ever. So, whatever it is you're walking through, whatever God has you going through right now, whatever thing God has challenged you to deal with right now, whatever that might be, the thing we can do is to dive deeper into God, to stand strong with him, to advance our relationship with the one who can see us through all things and who has a kingdom in store for those who are found faithful. So here's what I want to do. I want to just give us a moment to pray, because the challenges that you're facing right now might feel beastly. It might feel like they're coming at you and there's nothing you can do, and you're on your knees and you feel like you keep getting knocked down. So I want to just spend some time in prayer before God and give us the opportunity to bring whatever it is before God this morning. So Lord, as we close our eyes and bow our heads before you, we offer you our lives. We offer them back to you, for Lord, you gave us this life. You have placed breath inside of us, and you've asked us to live in this time and in this season like you did with Daniel back then. You're asking us to do it now with the promise, with the assuredness through your Son, Jesus Christ, that we have the victory. And so, Lord, make your church strong. Make your believers strong in the Spirit. Lord, come and give us your power and your strength to handle the situations the world is inevitably going to throw at us. Help us to be bold and courageous, to stand on the solidness of our faith, and to have that faith be so deeply rooted in us that nothing can move us. Lord, we've seen tornadoes come through our town the other day and take trees that are massive and simply uproot them. Lord, we want our faith to be so strong and so deep that nothing can move us. For we stand in your victory, we stand in your power, we stand in your strength. And so, Lord, help us to send down deep roots in you. Through our study of your word, through our time with you, through our prayers to you, through our walk with you. Make us deeply rooted in you, O God. So deeply rooted in you that nothing can move us off of your plan to build your kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. Lord, we're honored to be living in this season right now. This time in history, this time in the existence of your world. We're privileged to be here. And we know that you've asked us to do some things. To be courageous for you, to speak boldly for you, to live for you. In a world gone crazy. So Lord, help us. Give us the words to say. Give us the strength to stand. Give us the faith to stay deeply rooted in you, Lord, no matter what comes along. And we will give you all the praise and all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you for watching Crosspoint Online this week. We hope that you enjoyed that message and got something out of it. Before we let you go, we do want to give you the opportunity to be part of the community here at Crosspoint Church through giving. Your giving helps do all of the different ministries we're involved in with kids and with young adults and teenagers and families in the community, work we do around the world in Sierra Leone and other places. And you can be a part of that by giving through Crosspoint Church. You can go to the link that is right in the description of this video, go online and give there. You can click this QR code that's at the bottom of the screen. It'll take you right to that page. We appreciate everybody who wants to be a part of the giving that helps the ministries of Crosspoint Church happen. Thanks, and we will see you next time.